Good morning, everyone. I am Angelica Almonte, and welcome to Benilde Film Talks. Today, we will be discussing sex in Philippine cinema that is gradually making a comeback to our screens. I will now be giving the floor to the moderator of today's talk, the chairperson of the Digital Filmmaking Program, Direk Joey Reyes.
Okay, hi everybody. Hello. Okay. Hi everybody. Hello. Pwede ako ilagay nyo naman doon sa malaki at hindi ko nakikita si David sa harap ko. Okay. Hi everyone. Okay. Today we are having a very interesting talk, and this is about sex and Philippine streaming. Actually, there are two aspects that we are going to discuss today. Ang estado ng Philippine streaming platforms, and then the way that sex is being used, or the way sex is finding its way in a creation of a niche market in Philippine streaming. But before I introduce our prestigious guests for this afternoon, I am going to give you just a short talk on the history of sex in Philippine cinema. I hope I shall be allowed to share screen now. Okay? All right. Mali. Okay, here. All right, so today we're going to talk about sex in Philippine streaming. All right, and firstly, sex has always been around. Okay, it's always been around, and maybe the most marked period of which you had really courageous, bold, and in-your-face sex movies happened between 1970 and 1972. This was a major turning point in Philippine cinema because never before has Philippine movies created such products with such blatant sexual content. Okay? 90 and tingnan nyo maigi yung mga years kung kailan bumongga ang mga sex movies. 1970 to 1972. And this was started by a movie of Ruben Abalos called Uhaw. Okay, starring Merly Fernandez, Lito Legazpi, and the late Tito Galla. All right? And this was followed. Tignan niyo ang mga titles ng mga pelikulang lumabas ng panahon na yon. Ang Magsasaging na si Pasing, okay, starring Rosana Ortiz, okay, Hayok, also starring Rosana Ortiz, and George Estragan's Ang Batuta ni Dracula. All right? Lahat yan ay grabing sexual content to the point na it even reached that extreme that they were already having what you call penetration movies. In other words, it was already on the borderline of real pornography. As a result of all this, ay nag-explode ang Catholic Church at ang moralists. Okay? Ang sabi nila, stop it. Okay? This has already become garapal and garrulous, and suddenly the whole movement came to a halt. However, sometime in the late 1970s and then early 1980s, you had the rise of the regal sexy movies. This was the age of the magic camisón. Okay? Regal Films came up with Alma Moreno's movies, Nympha. Okay? The Diary of Cristina Gaston. Okay? Rio Locsin in Disgraciada, and the late Claudia Sobel's Sinner or Saint. Tignan nyo uli kung anong historical period nag-rise ito, which is the late 1970s and the early 1980s, when you had the rise of the nymphettes. Marami pa yan, si Alma, si Rio, si Gina Alahar, si Sherry Hill, and even to a certain extent si Nadina Bonnevie. All right? Then this was then followed by the late 80s and early 90s, that from bold it went to the ST movies. ST meant sexually titillating movies. And now the crown went from Regal to Seiko Films. Here you had movies like Kokak, starring Rachel Lobanco, Anakan Mo Ako, this ko mga title na with Claudia Coronel, Talong, okay, with Nining Jacinto, okay, and even the Gretchen Barreto ST movies. All right. Now, anong pagkakaiba nito? They were not as bold as the movies that came during the age of Ruben Abalos, but they were still sexually titillating. Now, it also moved on, okay, to the most controversial movies brought about, okay, by sexually triggered feature films. In 1976, dito nagkaroon ng mga major court and even Senate hearings for movies like Mga Ulhaw na Bulaklak, okay, of Danny Cabrera. City After Dark, a major masterpiece of Ishmael Bernal, was banned by Imelda Marcos. Its original title was Manila by Night, and it was censored because you cannot use the word Manila in a movie with sexual and controversial content. During the Manila International Film Festival, Regal and Peque Galiaga came up with the most sexually triggered movie of all times, and this is Scorpio Nights. Okay, this movie really exploded because of its sexual content, pero kasi ang mga katapat nitong showing is yung mga in the realm of the senses from Japan. Okay? So ito talaga sexually triggered movies. And then the latest of all controversial movies was done by Jose Javier Reyes in the year 2000 with his movie Live Show. Okay? Of which he holds the distinction of being called a soft pornographer by Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. That is the biggest compliment that a pornographer can possibly get, to be called soft. All right? Now, all of a sudden, now we have streaming. You have an entire gamut of streaming platforms which came into existence. Okay? And this was basically also brought about by the 2.5 years of the pandemic. You have KTX, you have Viva Max, you have Upstream, and you have I Want TFC. But you also have niche platforms like Gaga Ulala and View. Right? And from this came the following content. Okay? From Upstream, you have Eric Matis, A Girl and a Guy. And you have the Viva Max, okay, movies. Okay? Now, kung titignan natin, ang mga gumagawa ng mga movies na ito ay hindi yung mga just. Okay? And I wouldn't call them sex movies, but they're movies with adult content. Now, our question is now, so is sex the forbidden fruit or is it a form of national anesthesia? And our first level of discussion will come into, has adult materials formed a niche market in Philippine streaming, or has it gone beyond being a niche market? Why has sex become an important proponent right now in the rise and popularity of Philippine streaming? Now, having set the ground, let me introduce our distinguished panel who have joined us today, each with great authority to discuss our particular subject matter. Simulan natin. I have known this guy since he was a little boy in Star Cinema, who just walked into Star Cinema. And now he is one of the creative heads, of Viva. All right? He worked for so many years for Star Cinema, and I would consider him a creative producer and not merely a creative consultant. This is JP Abellera. JP, good afternoon and thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, Direk. Good afternoon, students of College of St. Benilde.
All right. Secondly, isa ito sa mga idol ko, He is a producer, and he is a writer. He came from GMA. He went to TV5, and now, he has his own company, which is Idea First. And from what I heard, he is mass producing movies now also for streaming platforms. One of the biggest busybodies in town. Direk Perci Intalan.
Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Direk. Applause ako doon sa live show. Applause. Sobra.
Thank you so much.
Idol.
Yeah, but when you compare live show now with what is being done, parang I made the sound of music, hindi ba? All right. Then we have, she is the Vice President for Acquisitions and of Viva. Where is she? Okay, I just saw her a while ago. Okay,
I'm
she was-
here, Direk.
Okay, you're there. Okay, she's the vice president. Okay, of acquisitions for Viva, and proudly one of our professors in the film program of the School of Design and Arts. Okay, si Tina Tubongbanua. Hello, Tina.
Hello, everybody.
Okay, and then finally, the grand dame. Okay, of the film program. Okay. Siya ang aming tinatanghal na first lady, okay, ng film program, okay. She is the CEO, okay, of Straight Shooters Unitel. Okay, she is also busy in doing almost close to everything, okay, and she was the head of Cine Filipino. I mean, hopefully ma-revive yan, okay. And God, she also does 15,000 things a day aside from taking care of her little doggy named Kimchi, okay? My fellow army member, okay? A BTS major fan, okay? Madonna Tarrayo.
Hi, good afternoon. Hi, Direk, and hi, students, and hi, speakers in this panel.
Sige, simulan na natin ang diskusyonan. Siguro, what would be interesting to ask is, ano ba talaga ang estado ng Philippine streaming right now? Has it really attracted that much of an audience to be a replacement to cinema entertainment? JP, let's start with you. You're deep into this, so maybe you can give us a profile of how is Philippine streaming right now?
Direct sobrang talaga, nag-explode yung streaming, especially during the pandemic. For example, yung let me start nung nag-start muna tayo kasi for example ako sa ABS-CBN noon, I Want TFC. When it started as I Want, na naka SVOD, yung subscription. Direct, I'm sure yung students yun naman aware of the different kinds of
No, maybe if you go with
VODs.
them one by one para mas maliwanagan nila yung mga kinds
okay.
of streaming. Oo.
Opo, kasi yes, yun yung maganda ngayon sa Philippines, parang lahat ng klase ng streaming meron tayo. So we have the SVOD, which is subscription-based video on demand, meaning that you pay a monthly fee in order to gain access to the original titles and library titles of a particular platform. For example, Netflix. Netflix is a SVOD, subscription-based siya. And then we also have what we call naman the AVOD, yung ad-based VOD, meaning that people don't have to pay a monthly subscription fee. No, they can log in for free and watch everything there. Kaya lang may advertisements, the pre-roll, meaning before the program, or mid-roll, in the middle of the program, and then the end roll, yung pagkatapos yung program, meron pa rin ads. So para siyang TV in a way, yung AVOD. And then we have what we call the premium or the transactional VOD, the TVOD. Ito naman yung for premium titles, you pay a particular amount of money to gain access to that. So for example, I remember yung anak ng macho dancer ni Direk Joel Lamangan that premiered sa KTX.ph and people had to pay 600 pesos.
$600, ha?
Yeah. Yes, Direk. 600 pesos for access to the movie. So ano siya? TVOD siya, transactional siya, premium siya. And you only get to watch it within 48 hours. After 48 hours, wala na yung access mo na 600 pesos.
Okay.
Okay, so yun yung different kinds. And Direk, all of this, guys, all of these kinds of streaming platforms, meron tayo sa Philippines. So for example, Viva Max and I Want TFC, primarily SVOD kami. Tina, batin ka kung may mali ako ha, pero meron din kami mga transactional VODs doon sa I Want TFC sa Viva Max. Ano pa ba? Ang WeTV, which used to be SVOD, suddenly this year became an AVOD. So free for all. Free for all ang WeTV ngayon. And then ng TVOD naman, yung KTX.ph, yun, wala talaga siyang subscription. You only pay what you want to watch. So ganito yung examples natin.
Okay. For clarification lang, sinabi mo may 48-hour window when you go into the PVOD, right? May 48 hours window ka. Single screening ba yan or you can watch it as many times within 48 hours?
Direct, it depends on the platform, but for KTX.ph, doon ako dati, 48 hours ang access mo for each ticket that you buy. So you can watch it over and over within the 48 hours.
Okay, all right. So in other words, maaring gamitin mo yon, maaring ibang kasama mo sa bahay manood using your account. All right.
Yes.
Now, all right. Now, assessing from such, let me address this to both to JP and to Tina. Alin dito sa mga subscription-based, sa mga ad-based, which is the most successful and which is the most popular?
Of
Tina?
course, like sa subscription, no, so far, like, andyan yung Netflix. Yun yung pinaka-successful. Sa ad-based, it's YouTube. YouTube pa rin.
Okay.
Kasi, like, even if you have View or if you have, what's this? View is also AVOD, unless you want the premium one.
The premium, yeah. Oo.
Si YouTube pa rin ang pinaka-successful in terms of like revenue generating na platform.
Pero dito sa mga local platforms natin, alin ang pinaka-successful?
Sa local platforms, I guess it's I1 pa rin, Japes, no? Na
Depende kasi yata, kasi like I remember, yung I Want kasi during yung launch natin a few months ago, parang at our peak we had around 3 million subscribers,
correct.
which was way higher than I Want TFC na nasa, if I remember it right, nasa 1.5 to 2 million siya nung peak. By the way, palang I Want TFC has gone AVOD na rin.
AVOD na sila. Sorry.
Yes,
Yun. Pero in terms of sa SVOD nga, si Viva Max, if you want to base it on the subscriber count, nasa 3 million na kasi siya now. So, mas successful. I'd like to say na successful si Viva Max as compared to the other local platforms.
Now another question. So let's put into focus, okay, na Viva Max and then I Want TFC. In terms of content, ano ang pinakamabenta sa mga local platforms natin? Because we have here the next generation of content creators. And inevitably they have to get into this arena. What sort of content is most sellable in the local platforms?
Okay. Sa Viva Max, ang observation namin basically is sexy.
Okay.
Sexy. The more risque, the higher the viewership. Kasi doon nga kami nagtataka eh. You come up with a mainstream, wholesome movie that you put on Viva Max na bakit hindi siya successful? Hindi siya ganun, kumbaga hindi ganun kadami yung traction niya. Pero pag nilagay mo sa Netflix o sa ibang platform, nagte-trend.
Okay.
So I guess sexy eh. Sexy yung binibili ng mga tao eh.
Okay. Let's look at it now from somebody who is into advertising, into marketing, and maybe I'd like to get her opinion about it. Madonna, how do you assess that? How do you assess that? Why is it na for the most successful platform in our country, it has to be, okay, I don't want to use someone sexy, no? At sabihin ko na lang natin na, bakit kailangan, okay, I mean, tell me if it's okay, Tina, mature content. Okay, bakit mature content ang kailangan? How do you assess it with the Philippine market?
Ako personally, and based on observation, I think because it is a kind of film or it's a kind of genre that we haven't really been doing pre-pandemic. I mean, we don't, di ba, the proliferation of adult content only happened during the pandemic. And I think it's a very personal kind of viewing. That's why it thrives in streaming. Kasi, I mean, the theaters, like streaming does not have MTRCB.
Okay.
I mean, if you watch this in the theaters, that's going to be like sobrang muddled, di ba? Sobrang edited. Ang daming tatanggalin dyan. So what's the point of having an adult content film if you're going to take out all the adult content, di ba? So I think that's a major observation on my end. Kasi hindi naman tayo gumagawa ng ganun noon. So it became a trend. It's a personal kind of viewing. Andyan ang streaming. I mean, Viva Max is, I think, the very first one who offered that. Because I remember when we did Batang Pause in I1, JP, that was also the highest in terms of streaming
Yes.
for a time, di ba? When we did Batang Pause, that was the highest in terms of streaming. So there really is a lot of interest in sex and in adult content. Now, the question is, ako kasi in my head, is it already earning? And is sex something that helps, draw in the subscribers or the viewers so that eventually it becomes a very lucrative business? Kasi streaming, as we know, even when you talk to advertisers, when they go digital, they will not spend as much yet. And in fact, they will not be placing a lot of ads in. Hindi pa sila ganon, no? It's not yet there. So I think yun. It will continue feeling ko kasi those are the types of films I think you will watch on streaming, di ba? Tingnan mo Netflix, yung mga risque na mga series ang nagtathrive sa Pilipinas eh. Yun yung mga number one. It's either that or the kilig kind of films na juvenile, di ba? Yun yung mga nasa top 10. So,
Nakakatawa to. No, nakakatawa to. I'll ask Percy. Percy, I'm going to ask you your reaction based on what Madonna said. Because ang sabi niya, ang talaga raw pumapatok sa streaming is either kilig or kangkang, hindi ba? It's either one of the two, hindi ba? What does it reflect about the Filipino in terms of his migration to the streaming platform? You are a producer, so how do you assess all this?
No, Direk, I agree completely with Madonna. I mean, alam naman natin nangyari sa cinema. For about a decade or so, the moment SM decided na hindi sila magpapalabas ng Beyond R16, nawala lahat ng sexy. I mean, we had sexy films all the way to mga Ligaya, di ba? Ng mga
Yeah.
And we had actually acclaimed films.
Yeah.
I mean, even yung mga masahista, yung mga service nila brilyante, never really had a chance sa cinema because SM decided, di ba? As a rule, they had the most cinema. So nawala. Kaya ang nangyari, nagkaroon nga ng na-deprive yung audience. And then suddenly the pandemic came. And then suddenly, as I totally agree with Madonna too, yung consumption kasi ng streaming is personal. Yung what Tina pointed out na sa Netflix medyo mas wholesome. I think it's because mas maraming nagka-cast sa TV ng Netflix for family viewing. Kaya lang gumagalaw yung wholesome nila. Pero I think ang Viva Max, even ang I think is more sa phone, sa tablets, di ba? Kaya talaga papanoorin mo yung content na
Nakakast na rin siya, Pers.
Hindi nakakast pero mas I think yung users mas personal devices. So ang nangyari, yun, nag-proliferate, hindi mag-proliferate, naging mas appealing yung content na before you didn't have access to, and before probably you will not watch with your family or with somebody else. And I guess I'll go beyond nga Direk, kasi may isa pang phenomenon rin na nangyari ng pandemic. Dumami rin ang LGBT content.
Oo nga. With the BL series.
I wouldn't say that that's part of being mature or anything, pero I think it's part of the phenomenon kasi it's personal devices. So, and I don't want to, parang, syempre marami namang out, diba? Pero marami ring hindi kasi out. Na bigla nagkaroon ng chance to watch this content nang hindi natatakot na somebody will judge them. And I think that's why, yun nakita namin mga feedback sa Game Boys namin eh. Viewers were saying that, thank you for this. I was able to relate. I was able to come out. So before they watched it, they were not out. So parang, I think yun. I think yun yung reason kung bakit nag-gravitate ang mga tao.
Okay, let's go to this point by point na ang dami kasing point na na-raise. Okay, firstly, MTRCB. Di ba? MTRCB really literally blocked all of the creation of mature content. Because you had this watchdog which was really counting sex scenes and counting minutes and counting breast exposures, hindi ba? Based on the rating. Secondly, as over and above that, there is, the great Catholic Church, Hindi ba? Which is looming over and passing judgment based on the moral compass which is revealed by every movie. Tapos ang maganda pa nito na binanggit, aside from the MTRCB and then the Catholic Church, is the manner of watching. Okay? Kasi nga, iba yung manood ka ng adult content sa sinihan at iba yung manood ka on a one-to-one basis on your telephone or on your TV set or in your computer monitor. It makes a major difference. Gets nyo yun, kids? Hindi ba? Sa streaming, it's no longer a community experience. It's a personal experience. Kaya, pumapasok yung ganyang content. Okay? Kaya mapasok.
Direk.
Oh, yes, JP.
Direk, pwede natin idagdag dyan kasi yung sa accessibility.
Okay.
Na sobra talaga number one, kahit paano, bumilis naman yung internet speed talaga sa Pilipinas, which made it possible for us to watch sa ating devices. And at the same time, Direk, if you've noticed, during 2021, nag-price drop lahat ng streaming platforms.
Why is
At
that?
saka
Why is that? Bakit nag-price drop?
Si Direk, talagang nagkaroon ng mga studies din naman po kasi that shows na ito lang yung amount na kayang ilabas ng mga Filipinos. So they had to adjust. Pero Direk, imagine Direk ha, at the price of yung 149 ng Netflix, we're in for 149 per month, single device siya, but I can watch the entire library of Netflix. Sulit ako dun Direk, kaysa naman sa 300 pesos ko na one ticket sa cinema. So yung sulit mentality Direk, pumasok din sa streaming psyche ng mga Filipinos.
Naku, patay tayo dyan. Hindi na kailangan ng adult content. Percy? Mukha talagang mamamatay na talaga ang cinema, hindi ba? At the ratings are going.
Well, we'll talk about that I'm sure later. Pero direct, event talaga eh. Event ang kailangan ng cinema.
Naku, so,
parang live events. It's really going to be like a live event.
Naku, ang question nyo dyan, kaya ba nating producers na gumawa ng mga ganun?
Ayun ang tanong. Ano ang event? Ano itatapat mo sa Marvel?
Ano itatapat mo, diba? Yun ang katanungan. Kasi nag-usap nga kami ni Direk, sabi ko, hindi naman natin, ang US kasi talagang umaarangkada na yung sinihan nila. Because nga of all these event movies. Pero sabi ko nga kay Direk nung isang gabi, nung magkasama kami na parang tayo kasi, meron ba tayong ganong klaseng budget? Are we willing to risk it just so matatapatan natin yung ganito, yung event viewing? Parang we're not, I don't know. Like ako as a producer, for example, I don't think I will ever find a co-funder or an investor who will really pour in 100 million just to be able to produce an action film at itatapat mo sa Marvel. At for sure, kahit na 100 million ginastos mo, hindi ka pa rin makakatapat, di ba? Mababawi mo ba?
Paano mo tatapatan ng Top Gun, hindi ba? Paano mo tatapatan yung gano'n na, it's worth the ticket price? Now, pushing it a bit further, now going back to the idea of sex, okay, of mature content and in streaming. Now, I'm going to look at it naman in terms of audience share talaga. John, JP question. May question ako. Yung bang mga audience ng mga ganyan, ng mga mature content, dumidikit ba yan sa subscription o they buy it tingi-tingi?
Meaning, sa Viva Max po kasi direct, naka-SVOD kasi kami. So, ibig sabihin nun, for example, for the amount that you pay this month, may access ka dun sa lahat na lalabas na Viva Original titles sa kayong library. So, ang napansin lang namin direct, wala ko talaga ng exact numbers pa kasi Tina may habit. Pero sa cascade namin kasi direct, parang nag-peak or nag-uptick yung number of subscriptions kapag naglalabas kami ng erotic titles.
So, teka ha, kasi Tina, nagre-react ako dyan. Kasi hindi lang naman yun ang laman ng Viva Max, di ba?
Totoo. Meron din kaming
ang ganda ng Korean library nyo, ang ganda.
Oo.
So, apektado ba yun? Apektado kayo doon sa content na lahat nakatutok doon sa mature sa di ba dati Daryl Yap yan, hindi ba?
Correct.
Ngayon, di ba Percy ang namamayagpak is si Roman Perez, hindi ba? At si Mac Alejandre, hindi ba?
Si Roman every week yata may bagong pelikula.
Si Mac Alejandre every 3 days may bagong pelikula. So, gano'n na ba? Has it affected I mean, is Viva Max bothered by this? Na nasasayang yung andadaming ganda yung content na nakatutok lang doon sa sex? Yun na ba ang branding? JP?
Direct, ang ganda nung sinabi ni Tina kanina na example, for example, Direct, yung More Than Blue ni Direct,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, ano pangalan ba dito?
Lemuel.
Laval. Direct Noel Laval. Direct, yung More Than Blue was #1 po sa Netflix for several weeks.
But
Pero nung nilabas namin sa Viva Max, iba nung una, Tina, hindi siya masyadong pumalo
Hindi
nung
siya
una.
mabenta. Ito,
Oo.
hindi siya pinupuntahan. Ang ganda-ganda ng movie, pero nasa
Yes.
Netflix siya. Going back to what Direct Joey was saying, yun na nga parang ako personally, no, nanghihinayang ako na parang kahit naman minamarket namin yung mga Korean movies namin and all, ano pa rin si mature movies pa rin yung pinapanood.
O alam mo Tina, hindi naman sa hindi naman sa pinapalakpakan kita dahil nandiyan ka, no? Pero yung ibang mga movies niyo mas maganda pa kaysa sa View. Di ba? May iba doon na talagang the major Korean movies I find in Viva Max, but apparently that is not where it's going. Now, okay, punta naman ako sa mga producer. Perci, okay? Ano bang uri ng pagdurusa ang pinagdadaanan ng producer na mature content na ang ini-expect sa inyo? Ako, pinagdaanan ko rin yan, pero gusto ko marinig muna sa iyo. Okay?
Well, hindi. I think direct...
Teka, umpisahan natin doon sa groundbreaking mo. Yung Game Boys. Kasi that opened the whole BL series of the Philippines eh. Okay? Kwento mo nga ang pagdurusan nyo roon.
Hindi, ibang level na pagdurusa yun kasi kabaliwan na nag-attempt kami mag-produce ng anything sa gitna ng pandemic na hindi kami nagkikita-kita, nagpapadala lang kami ng messages sa isa't isa, nagzo-zoom. So ang hirap-hirap gawin ng shoot kasi everybody was really at home. Tapos yung nga, the actors, din sila nag-set up ng camera, sila nag-set up ng PD. Yung PD na sa Zoom sinasabi, pakisabit nga yung painting dyan, pakiuro ng konti. Tapos yung director sabihin, paki-angulo yung camera ng ganito. Hindi, urong mo pa. Tapos, i-record nila, tapos ipapadala nila sa napakabilis nating internet. Yung footage, bawat take at bawat shot. Kasi 2 tao nag-usap, 2 camera nag-roll. Wala naman 2 shot eh.
Oh my
So,
God.
aabangan ngayon ng director, habang nagtitwiddle kayo lahat ng thumbs nyo, hinihintay nyo na naglo-loading, direct uploading pa. Tapos next to, yung director, ito downloading na. O guys, downloading pa. O guys, isa pa tayo. Then you have to do the whole thing again. Every shot. So, yeah, ibang level yun.
Pero, I mean, it eventually became so groundbreaking that it opened all these Filipino BL series which are on YouTube or on streaming platforms, hindi ba?
Yes, well, thankfully naman nagbunga yung the viewers gravitated towards it at yun nga, it opened doors. It opened doors for us, it opened doors for the actors. So tama naman yung rara speech ko at the start na guys, kapit lang. Kasi talaga bumibitaw na sa akin after 3 weeks eh. Guys, kapit lang. Pag nagawa natin to ng tama, pagbubunga to for us. Diba? Sabi ko, Ivan, pag nagawa mo to ng tama, ikaw lang ang director na marunong gumawa nito. At totoo naman, hanggang ngayon kahit sa amin, Ivan, ikaw na gumawa nito. Ayokong gawin ito. Hirap gawin ito.
Okay.
Sa mga artista. Yun. So, yeah. I mean, I think back to your question about the type of content that we're producing, no, and how difficult it is. I think ngayon, nare-realize natin, Direct, that every production is a new challenge. And sometimes the challenges can range from yung logistics of it, di ba? We want to be ambitious sometimes and find stories that are grander in scope, pero ang budget natin pang 2 characters in 1 location, di ba? And then, hindi naman sa pero challenge rin na ang daming bagong muka. Okay naman, pero hindi lahat sila hasapa sa, di ba? Totoo naman para mag-artista. Kasi lahat ng artista mo, may ginagawa ring iba. Tapos puro lock-in, so hindi ka na pwede mag-segue ngayon ng basta-basta. Di ba? And then, yun direct.
Hindi ba, alam mo, ano lang ako, may reaction lang ako. Alam mo, ang dami-daming trabaho ngayon para sa artista. Actually, kung hindi ka nag-iinarte at naghahanap ka lang ng trabaho, makakahanap ka ng trabaho. Okay? At saka, sinasabi ko nga sa mga batang ito, ang dami-daming job opportunities because of the platforms. Okay? Ang dami-daming job opportunities because of the platforms, lalo-lalo na in specific areas. Okay? Pero it is difficult. Okay? Budget-wise. Okay? It's difficult budget-wise. Ikaw, Madonna, wala ka bang plano na mag-produce at pumasok sa arena na ito? Pakipaliwanag
Okay,
mo.
bago ko sagutin yan, Direk. Una sa lahat, just a reaction, no? Like I think the sex in streaming, for example, that's really novel. That's novelty. So that's the reason why yun ang hook ng Viva Max, I guess, when they started, with the marketing. Yan ang hook. Because sex is something na matagal na natin hindi talaga napapanood. I think yung sinasabi mo direct na ang ganda ng Korean content ng Viva Max, for example, that's a, to me that's a branding problem altogether. That if you want to push the other content that is non-sexual, I think you have to give it the same kind of marketing push. Kasi nandun na yung Viva Max, di ba? You really started that kind of series of films na adult content. So doon sa part ng, and thanks to Viva Max, because sex is apparently the thing nowadays. Actually kami direct, we are producing too, but these are, naku makapatayin ako ni Tina, story driven, and it's adult content, but it's story driven and character driven. One is with I Want na natigil kasi nga nag-pandemic, mag-shoot na dapat yon pero nag-pandemic, but that one kasi got into Udine as well, so that's something that we are going to produce. Hopefully makapag-shoot kami this year. And the other one is
yung HBO nyo.
Coming of age. Well, HBO naman is half world, so that's not really bordering on adult in the sense of violence, but not really sex. But we are also doing one which is coming of age. Kaya yung like yung kay Game Boys, I think the reason why it's very successful because it's novel, it's new, it's a new way of looking at a coming of age, coming out story.
Yeah.
And sex is not even in the middle of that.
No,
right?
it's not.
I mean, exactly.
No,
so, which I think makes it really successful. May ganon. Iba naman yung branding din ng Viva Max, for example, for all the films of Roman, of Daryl, of iba naman yon. Iba rin naman yung objective. I guess objective-driven, direct. Ano bang objective natin when we produce a certain film? Do we want to break through? Do we want to earn? Do we want to launch? Diba? Kanya-kanya naman kasi.
Okay, magre-react lang ako. Tama yung sinabi mo na BL series naman are not sex-driven. My God,
no.
Every BL series ends with a kiss. Okay? Every BL series ends with the two twinks kissing, okay? And Game Boy opened that, but actually derivative pa din yan sa mga Thai, hindi ba sa mga Thai sa Thai boy love stories, mainly because iba naman ang kultura nila at pananaw nila okay sa ganyang uri ng relasyon. Now, maybe nanggit naman na keyword dito si Madonna na ibabato ko ngayon kay JP at saka kay Tina na sex is a novelty. Will the novelty wear out?
Ako muna sa, okay, direct, as with any trend naman, di ba, kapag nag-reach yung saturation point niya, alam natin nagde-decline. No?
So, ano susunod niyan? Religious stories naman?
Hindi naman, direct hindi. Depende direct ha, pero to be honest, may awareness kami inside Viva Max na we cannot just stick to one kind of story. So, nagde-develop kami ng rom-coms, nagde-develop kami ng hugot drama, nagde-develop kami ng comedy films kasi alam namin na dapat nababalanse namin kahit paano yung content namin, not just the erotic titles, pero meron kami pang salo na para, ito a different kind of Julia Barreto rom-com naman. Ito a different kind of Nadine Lustre, hugot drama naman. So ito, Ann Curtis naman to na mystery thriller. So ganun direct, meron ng awareness na we cannot rely on this for so long.
So in other words, you already have a foresight na eventually this is going to wane, ganon. Okay?
Yes, direct, saka direct may stable of artists din kasi kami na kailangan namin gamitin, which are, not all of them are willing to do naman erotic content.
Right.
So,
Right.
May share lang ako because I'm about to do a series, hindi ba, with you guys, no? Alam mo, Tina, nakakaaliw ang mga artista talaga. Nakakaaliw ang mga artista. Percy, share ko sa iyo yung na hindi mga karamihan sa kanila hindi pa hinog. Okay? Hindi pa hinog. Tetemplahin mo ngayong maigi yung kwento mo doon sa ibibigay sa yung artista na kakayanin nila. Kasi hindi mo naman pwedeng pumiga ng dugo sa bato, hindi ba? So you have to, ang hirap nung prosesong yon in which you are adjusting to the available actors who are willing to do the mature work that is going to be demanded from them. At saka Percy, meron ako na-discover, I was sharing this with Madonna. Mas maarte ang mga lalaki kaysa sa babae.
Yes. Totoo yan.
Oo naman.
Aminin ko yan. Totoo.
Diyos ko, Lord.
I will share this direct in reaction to rin sabi ni JP, no? Yes, kasi ito lang ang nagbabago. Sa streaming kasi, you've got now, even before us, may mga Game of Thrones na si Daenerys, di ba? Kaya tayo nabigla lahat Opening pa lang ng Daenerys na character, hubot-hubad na siya At yung mga characters, kung mag-sex, di ba? Pero seryoso yung material, naging fan favorite siya, di ba? I think, sinasabi ko sa mga actors natin ngayon, sabi ko, alam mo, pwede naman. Of course, it's your prerogative how much you want to show. Pero you now have an audience that will not be satisfied with just a peck on the cheek. Diba? Hindi naman niniwala ang tao na nag-sex ka, pero nakabalot kayo ng kumot.
Right.
I mean, ganun yung tatanggapin mo Sabi ko, panahon to ng Power of the Dog. Na si Benedict Cumberbatch, maliligo lang sa batis. Diba? Todo hubad. Panahon to nung kay Emma Thompson.
Oh my God! Hindi ba?
Nanilampasan na si Meryl Streep. Kung ginawa niya to a decade or 2 decades ago.
Diba, this is in Leo. Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
Leo Grande.
Ang ginawa ni Meryl Streep sa sa Bridges of Madison.
Double pa yun. Double pa yun.
So, ngayon sabi ko nga, this is a different era now. And I think you have to embrace being an actor beyond yung being a celebrity.
Yes.
Kasi you can stay being a celebrity, that's fine. Yung tweet times, that's fine. But it will only get you so far. Kasi you now have an audience that's very exposed. Na pag seryoso ka sa kwento mo, at as Madonna said, talagang, yung iba story-based talaga, character-based. Part ng character mo yung tapang. So ganun na kami sa mga actors at mga artista namin. You tell us ano yung hangganan, pero it's our prerogative to take you out of the project if it will not work. Hindi namin i-water down siya. Kasi ito yung Game Boys, pupunta ako doon. Yung season 2 ng Game Boys, kailangan na namin mag-sex. Kasi hindi na believable May dalawa kang lalaki na finally nagkita, nagsama sa bahay. Alam ka namang, nagtingin na.
Naglaro ng puso yan, no?
Oo. At sabi namin, dyan namin iiwan yung mga ibang BL kaya will skirt the issue. Hindi, harapin natin to. Na magsa-sex sila sa big deal. Pero sinabi namin, sex yan, magkikiss kayo. Wala kami papakita, pero wala dapat apprehension sa paghahalik, sa So, I appreciated that na yung may mga actors ngayon are more, I guess more committed to their roles. They will, but I advise them, make sure it's a role that you really believe in. Make sure it's a project you really believe in. If it's a big deal for you, then prepare yourself for it.
At saka alam mo, Percy, I believe din naman. Sige, tama na hindi na pwede yung the art of subtlety ngayon. Di ba? Hindi na pwedeng, because nga of the kind of courage, the kind of commitment that, and the kind of exposure, that the audience has, with all the available materials you see online. Pero alam mo, it all boils down to the way it's treated, how the sex scenes are treated.
Yun naman yung isa.
Di ba, JP? I mean, ako pag sinasabi ko sa artista ko, hindi naman nakabukas ang fluorescent light habang kayo nagse-sex. Hindi ba? Binibigyan mo rin ng... No, Madonna, because yung iba talaga, kulang na lang, nasa gitna kayo ng bukid with full lights. Sabi ko, may shadows naman yung shot ko. Meron naman treatment, may lighting. Di ba, Percy? It all depends on the way it is.
Sa directors naman ngayon yan. Oo.
At saka, dito ko nga nakikita yung commitment ng mga babae na you just, kasi, di ba, JP, that's why we have all these endless Zoom meetings with the artistas that you ask them, what are your limitations? And they tell you limitations What are your limitations? Tapos sabi, I was talking to one of them last night, JP. And I told her, grabe hats off ako sa iyo sa pinagawa sa iyo dun sa latest na ni-release ng Viva Max. Hats off ako doon sa babae. Naggulat ako, JP, that without makeup, my God, she looks like one of my students. Hindi ba? Nene pa pala. Sabi ko, grabe yon. Tapos she was explaining na it's within the limitations naman daw of her, of her, it's within the perimeter of her limitations. Pero sabi ko, grabe, it's all on the way it is treated. May tatanungin ako, JP at saka Tina, bakit kayo nag-series? Bakit kayo gumawa ng series? Dati mga feature films lang, JP, explain, nasa series department ka, why?
Direk si Tina muna.
Hindi. Kasi, actually, parang nag-umpisa to sa Nag-umpisa to sa, di ba, we were doing shows para sa TV5. So tapos kasi meron din kaming Viva TV din dati na gumagawa at saka sari-sari.
May sari-sari pa ba?
Meron pa, Direk.
Okay.
Oo. So nakita namin yung potential ng series. Kasi like sa sari-sari, mas mas series-based. Yung sa Viva TV kasi, general entertainment. So, halo-halo. May series, may konting series, may konting game show, may comedy shows. So, nakita namin yung potential sa sari-sari. Tapos, in terms of licensing, meron din pala siyang merkado. So, kaya, so, dahil nga yon tapos plus sa TV5 din, so nakita namin yung potential. Tapos parang yung ibang streaming platforms din gusto ng series. Although, di ba Japes, parang sa Viva Max, hindi pa siya ganun ka... parang ngayon pa lang siya nag-uumpisang mag-take off. Noong umpisa kasi hindi pa ganun masyado.
Pero nagkakaroon na siya ng traction ngayon yung series.
Correct. Oo.
Ano yung pinaka-successful series niyo? I've watched about 3 of them. I'm present progressively. Alam mo, Perci, pinapanood ko lahat sa Viva Max. Pinapanood ko talaga lahat so that you would know where it is going, hindi ba? Ano yung, JP, ano pinaka-successful sa series niyo?
Direct dun sa last numbers namin, ang parang naglalaban sa top 2 yung Eskandalo ni Direk Roman at saka yung L.
The L series, nila Topel. Nila Topel Lee at saka nila Red. Okay? Okay. How are you?
Pero Direk, sorry, adlaw kay Tina. Kasi ang ganda ng sinabi niya na tama na nagkakaroon ng traction. Kasi Direk, because of Netflix din, sobrang nasanay ang mga tao sa, hindi lang Netflix, pati View, nasanay ang tao sa K-drama. So naghahanap talaga sila ngayon ng long form, ng characters or story na sinusundan nila for a number of episodes. So in terms of the audience, may ganun na talagang change in terms of viewing preference. Ayaw na ng isang kwentong maikli, gusto ko na susundan ko siya ng many episodes. Tapos Direk, on the producing side naman po, mas matipid kasi kapag ka nag-produce ka ng series as compared to movies. Direk, tayo?
Pero mas mahirap. Mas mahirap, di ba? Perci, pag series.
Ang hirap na series.
Direk. Pero Direk, isipin mo Direk, kung ikaw yung may-ari ng streaming platform, and let's say may commitment ka na one content per week. Diba? So kung may-ari ako ng streaming platform, kailangan maglabas ako ng either 4 movies or 4 episodes per week. Direct kung movie yan, I'll be sharing out kung ang budget ko, let's say, ay tipid-tipiran producer ako, nasa 5 million. Maglalabas ako direct ng ng 5 million per week. So a total of 20 million per month. Pero kung gagawa ko ng series sa 1.5 million per episode, in just 4 episodes sa isang buwan, naglabas ako ng 6 million. So directly may economics din involved.
Okay. Ibang challenge. It's a totally different language. I'm doing a series now, Perci, and I'm realizing that it's a totally different language, in the way you manage your production, hindi ba?
Pero direct yung sa series kasi pag inisip mo, ganun din talaga ng audience natin eh. I mean, the whole Avengers, the whole Marvel is a series, di ba? Mission Impossible na hindi matapos-tapos is a series. James Bond is a series. Yung continuing story, tama yun kay JP. I think the audience, yun naman ang maganda ng series, whether it's a TV series or a movie series, pag naka-jackpot ka, na minahal ng audience yung character mo, aba kahit ano gawin mo sa character. Di ba susundan nila? Lalo na sa streaming, sisilipin mo pa rin eh. Di ba?
May itatanong ako, Ana, before, kasi malapit na tayo mag-Q&A, may itatanong lang ako. Mado, una kitang tatanungin. Ano ang malaking pagkakaiba na naganap sa audience ng Pilipino as far as entertainment is concerned? What is that big major change that happened? Na all of a sudden now streaming has become apparently the most evident option. What can you say is the major change that happened?
For me, kasi Direk, I guess the pandemic is really the game changer. Everybody's at home. The streaming platforms are available. The local streaming platforms are cheaper than Netflix kasi meron lang namang segment of society ang nakasubscribe sa Netflix. All the others naman, they're in the local streaming, either Viva Max or iWant. I think yon. Plus, ang Pilipino, I don't think yun ang priority ang manood na sa sine. Kasi imagine pag nagbayad ka sa streaming, ilang tao dun sa bahay mo ang makakanood. Ang dami, di ba? Pero pag nanood ka ng sine, 400? That's the lowest, the 250?
Wala na, 400 na. 400 na.
So 400. So masyado na siyang mahal. Plus marami pang takot lumabas. To be very candid, kung lalabas sila, hindi sila papasok sa sinihan. I think yon major change yon. But ako naman, parang I just feel that we will get there. But it's not just upon us. It's not just upon the film industry. We really have to have a very kumbaga, in place COVID response moving forward. I think that's a big thing. Yung talagang people will at least confidently go out there and they will not be scared of, for example, getting it kasi alam naman nila that there will always be support and that it's just like the flu, di ba? Parang ganun. And pangalawa, we really need the tax breaks. Kasi we cannot expect Filipino films to make it the way, the Marvel, the action, the Mission Impossible. There is no way. Walang Panama kasi yon. So let's work within our industry. What will make the film industry really prosper again? I think tax breaks is important. I think it has to be a mutually agreed price for Filipino films. For me, sure, American films, foreign films, charge them 400. But if it's a Filipino film, what is it naman for you to just like charge half? And we're just all starting again, di ba? So I think important yun if you want to bring people back to the cinemas. Otherwise, then we are happy to just be in streaming. You don't leave your house, you're safe. You watch many times as much as possible. You have so much to choose from. Diba? But iba rin yung sinehan kasi, di ba?
Iba yung community experience. Oo.
Iba. So ako yun.
No, tsaka iba tumo pa, Madonna, hindi lamang yung presyo ng sinihan, yung presyo ng gasolina. Okay,
lahat, di ba?
Bago ka lumabas ng bahay, hindi ba?
Kasi 1,000 per head yan. Kasi kakain ka pa, lalabas ka, magagasolina ka, mamamasahe ka, kahit na may kotse ka, magpa-parking ka pa. 1,000 per head yan. Okay. For sure.
Ikaw naman, Madam Tina, natanungin ko, Madam Tina, ano, I mean, based from your position in Viva, okay, how do you see the changes that happen in the Filipino audience, and how do you translate this into the kind of work you're doing and the kind of direction that Viva is going to?
Okay, so now parang we are the direction is, of course, because what's selling is, as we mentioned earlier, it's the mature
content,
mature content. So far dun ang direction namin. But we also got this directive that, okay, for Viva Max, this is the type of movie that we do. For the other streaming platforms, we do these types of movies kasi nagdedepende, parang we would want to cater to all the platforms.
Audiences.
all the different kinds of audiences. So ano pa rin Viva's trying to be as balanced as we can. So hindi lang siya puro sexy talaga. Meron din kaming mga nasa pipeline na wholesome movies. Merong mga action and stuff like that. So para lahat covered.
Tina, I mean, assessing the audience of Viva Max, is it predominantly male or
Yes.
predominantly male siya?
Yes.
Okay, so nagbo-wonder lang ako saan nagpunta yung female market na malaki rin kung saang platform nagpunta yun hindi ba?
Nasa View yan. Hindi.
Ang Koreano mga pinapanood nila at saka Netflix.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Now, ikaw naman, Percy, what do you think? What do you think has happened to the Filipino audience, and then how do you perceive that in terms of your future plans?
Well, Direk, actually, I appreciate talaga yung history na pinakita nyo at the start of this talk. Kasi it showed me something that I felt already. Kasi inabot ko naman yung mga panahon nila. Yan, yung mga Scorpio Nights, diba? Mga inabot ko.
So, hindi mo inabot ang Ruben Abalos, hindi ba?
Hindi ko inabot yan. Naririnig ko legendary yung mga Pene films. Kasi nga parang kung malala na to, mas malala pa yun. Parang gano'n yung ano. Pero it showed me that the audience has always been like this.
Yeah.
It's just that the access to this material has changed. Diba?
Yeah.
Streaming,
Yeah.
what changed? Pero the pagiging predisposed ng audience natin to watching mature content has always been there. It's been proven time and again. Medyo siguro it also corresponds to a certain time of how our political situation has been, our society has been, 'di ba? And sabi nga nila, 'di ba, it's all a cycle. So bumabalik-balik At parang 10-year cycle ngayon nakita ko sa inyo Kasi hindi niya pa inabot yung 2000s kasi 2000s bumalik ulit yan So parang nandun nasa start ng bawat dekada nangyayari.
No, at saka Percy, ang interesting dyan is at the height of great political instability,
I was about to say,
Yes.
lumalabas ang mga
I was about to say.
It's a fantasy. I mean, fantasy is not just fantastical sci-fi, di ba? Fantasy is also sex. So that's siguro psychologically that's where we're at. So it's part of our audience, it's part of our makeup, it's the access. Pero I won't say it's a bad thing kasi it also exposes us to more stories. After this siguro sabi nga nila JP, magse-settle down yan, magkakaroon ng ibang genre, magkakaroon ng mix, magkakaroon ka ng mature content na mas political, magkakaroon ng mature content na mas comedy, mas thriller, diba? So magba-branch out yan naturally kasi yun naman maganda sa mga filmmakers natin. Tayo rin naman nagsasawa. So magawa ng
nakakasawa rin naman, hindi
Oo naman.
Tapos idadagdag ko lang to and I just want to tell Tina and JP this. I've told Vincent and Bostic. Kasi thank you rin. Kasi Viva has been almost single-handedly carrying the industry.
Right now.
Ang dami-daming may trabaho. I mean, say what you want, diba? Ang dami na bigyan ng trabaho. And at the same time, gumagaling itong mga filmmakers na bago. Kahit ano pa ang sabihin natin, maraming natututo. Nagkakaroon ng bagong mga AD, nagkakaroon ng bagong mga script ko, nagkakaroon ng mga bagong cinematographer, na dati, di ba, pinaano natin na kasi sila lang yung afford. Pero ngayon, sila yung afford, pero gumaling na sila. Bumili sila. So parang in a way, natulungan din yung industriya to recalibrate for the post-pandemic era na at least hindi tayo tumigil. Di ba? Nag-grow tayo. So part of our growth is this. We're passing through this phase, di ba? It will settle down. Pero I think it's actually a good time.
You know what?
And I think Direk, I'll lang with Percy. It's also being a trendsetter, like what I said, the two films were developing. One is a series, one is a film. It really takes off from the fact na we looked at Viva Max, we studied what makes it work, and we took whatever we can in terms of what content you have and create our own based on our own objective naman, diba? As an independent film production. So I totally agree with kayo na lang yata yung gawa and we're all like, wow, mabuti pa yung Viva. Ang daming
grabe, di ba? I mean, bumalik tayo sa 90s na umaabot tayo ng 150 movies a year.
I know.
Worried nga si Joel Lamanga na si Roman Perez dadaigin ng kanyang filmography.
Parang.
Diba?
Menes ka, Direk Roman.
Oo, very worried na si Joel Lamanga na siya. mag-exceed, okay? So talagang, di ba? Now, moving on, okay?
Nakakatawa.
Okay, no, may dadagdag lang ako, Percy. Alam mo ba na doon sa grupo namin, ilang mga estudyante ng CSB ang kasama ng staff ko dahil sa mga Viva Max projects ko. Yung isa kong yung second cinematographer ko, estudyante dati na-train. So we really have to appreciate what Viva is doing, what Viva is doing. No.
Ibang baptism of fire direct yung 7 days ka mag-shoot, 5 days ka mag-shoot, ha?
Talagang
learnings
baptism
yan.
of fire. Okay lang. Di ba, JP?
Pwede na natin sabihin, alam nyo, pagka kinaya nyo sa Viva, pwede na kayong magtrabaho sa amin. Pag kinaya
Ito ng
nyo,
bagong New York.
yun
You
ang
can make it
standard,
there.
yun ang standard. If you can take it there,
Oy, Madonna,
you make
ha?
it everywhere.
Kinuha na ng Viva ang corona ng Regal. Dapat yan
Totoo.
sabi, di ba? Pag nagtrabaho ka sa Regal at kakayanan mo, you can make it anywhere. Ngayon,
If you can make it there, you can make it everywhere. Yan na ngayon.
hindi ba? Then natatawa ako, JP. I mean, I never expected that at my age, hindi ba? Gumagawa ako ng mga pelikula na mga pelikula in 7 days, in 10 days. Sabi ko, never in my life did I imagine this. And nasa Star Cinema ako, Tina, 18 days, 24 days, hindi ba? But that's, that's part of it. That's part of the evolution. Ikaw naman, JP, final ko sa iyo. Ano sa tingin mo? You've been in Star Cinema at its height.
Ganda.
And now you're in Viva Max. Anong learning na gets mo at ano na perceive mong kinabukasang haharapin natin?
Well, Direk,
Napabuntong hininga si JP.
Hindi, kasi Direk, talaga na-realize ko na, na ang laki-laki ng Philippine market. Kasi syempre pag nag-work ka for a particular company, nagkaka-blinders ka eh. Diba na akala mo na, ito yung market talaga ng Philippines, diba, rom-com ang papanoorin. Diba, until when I get to Viva, ang dami pala naghahanap ng ng erotic content, ng mature content, diba? So nakita mo na, as a creator, hindi ka po pwedeng ma-pigeonhole na, sorry ha, lang ako ha, rom-com lang ako ha, sorry, family drama lang ako. Hindi dapat kaya mong sumayaw dun sa lahat ng klaseng content na gusto ng panoorin ng audience mo. If you want to cater to them, dapat ma-appreciate mo kung ano yung gusto nilang panoorin at bibigay mo yon. So ako direct yun, it's ever changing. So natutuwa lang ako na sana yung mga bata magkaroon sa ng ganyang perspective na, ang dami-daming klaseng audience ng Philippines, ang dami-daming klaseng content na pwedeng gawin. So since Perci, may mga BL sila, si Mado, may mga pang-Udine sila, kami may erotic content kami at may mga Korean kami, acquisitions. So yung direct, ang daming pwedeng gawin. Yun ang na-appreciate ko in the last few.
No, at saka with streaming, it just opened our minds to a whole gamut of possibilities. Hindi ba? Dati tunnel vision tayo eh. Pero with streaming at saka yung accessibility natin to all the foreign films, okay, whether you go into movie or you go into view, lumawak yung paningin mo bilang isang filmmaker. Siguro yun ang gusto nating i-impart sa mga bata, na importante na lawakan nila ang kanilang pananaw at ang paningin. Otherwise, ang laki na magiging problema kung nakatutok lang sila sa isang perspektibo. Okay? Now, I think it is time for us to open ourselves to Q&A. Okay? Kung may mga questions ang mga bata, pwede na kayo magtanong ngayon. You could raise your hand and ask your question, or you can do it through the chat. Okay? Kung may katanungan kayo tungkol sa present state of streaming, and better yet, what kind of future awaits you? Okay, pagka-graduate nyo. Madonna, di ba na-realize nating lahat ito? Itong mga batang ito, iba ang mundong kanilang papasukan. Hindi ito yung mundo ng 2019. Okay? May mga katanungan kayo. Nagkahiyaan na. May mga katanungan kayo.
Nahiya sila
Miss
magtanong.
Chan, Georgia Chan has a question. Yes, Georgia.
Hi. For me lang po, I just kind of wanted to know what you might predict the film industry might face now that sex is so much more accessible, especially at home, where there are kids and minor. So that's sort of like, I just kind of wanted to know what your predictions might be for the industry, like what kind of problems they'd face, how you might fix it, how you might go about it.
Okay, let me just rephrase your question. You are asking what are the problems which will be confronted because of these changes that are happening? I guess what you're asking is, will people still go back to the cinema, or are we supposed to develop at-home entertainment or personalized entertainment? Is that it?
More of what problems would the industry face in the future eventually, because sex is becoming so much more accessible to households that have kids po.
Okay. All right. JP, could you answer that, please?
Okay. Ano naman, no? So we talked about it earlier that watching streaming platform content is much more personal, and there are actually some parental controls installed naman in the streaming platforms apps, streaming platform apps that we have. For example, Netflix has its own parental control. Even sa Viva Max, naglagay kami ng code. So you cannot actually access erotic content sa Viva Max if you don't have that parental code. So may mga nakalagay naman na ganong na security checks. Problems in the future, sa tingin ko naman wala naman talagang big problem na dadalhin, no, yung proliferation of sex, kasi kung sasabihin natin na magiging sexually promiscuous ba mga bata dahil sa Viva Max? I don't think so, no? I mean, come to think of it, there's Pornhub, there's Twitter na mas exposed sila, diba? So I mean, naging sexually promiscuous ba sila dahil sa Pornhub and Twitter? Well, we don't know, and we can't confirm that. So ganun din sa Viva Max. So ang hirap lang isipin na baka maging cause ito ng ganong klaseng behavior. But what I think is that eventually sinasabi nga namin kanina nila Perci, nila Madonna, nila Tina, no, na alam nang namin na magiging problem na namin as content creators would be how to expand from this, or if not expand, di ba, how do we deepen nung hindi ka lang gagawa ng sex for sex sake na klase ng pelikula. Di ba? Na yung content mo na it's about eroticism, pero magkapasok ba tayo ng sexuality issues? Magkapasok ba tayo ng HIV awareness? Magkapasok ba tayo ng iba't ibang klaseng social concerns para lang yung audience, kasi magsasawa lang yan sa the actual sexual act
Yeah.
Diba? Maghahanap yan ng mas malalim So yun yung challenge sa atin.
Yun yung novelty factor, I guess, ng JP. Just how many ways can you do it, right? And then just how many ways can you shoot it? I think what is important is the context by which you put that into the story, hindi ba? And eventually, the story matters. Not only the story, all the other cinematic elements as well, hindi ba? Okay? The actor, etc. Yeah.
I think may isa pang I mean, I don't know if that's where was it Georgia was heading. Pero if you're now talking about naman legislative, di ba? We touched on the MTRCB before, and there has been a move, di ba, na gustong i-regulate ang streaming
Digital.
or ang digital, which I said, how can you put the genie back in the bottle when it comes to streaming? Kasi it's accessible internationally.
Mm-hmm.
You need the Great Firewall of China to stop this, and even the Great Firewall of China cannot stop content from going into China.
Yeah.
Di ba? So hindi siya magagawa. But I think what is nagiging responsible naman, I think, ang mga filmmakers, kasi we have to be careful rin on how we present our films, kasi it's also not doing justice to some of the projects na ang nakikita lang nila is a sexy poster. Na parang i-dismiss na sexy film to, pero for all you know, it's another Scorpio Nights, it's another live show. Pero naunahan ka ng bias mo na it's a sexy film. So hindi yan hindi yan magandang kwento. Kasi I'm sure sa dami ng material ng Viva, and I've seen some of them, may iba talaga na parang, uy, meron to If actually pag-isipin mo, if this had a bigger budget, mas event film to kasi ang material niya ang laki. Yung may mga ganun So I think maingat lang talaga tayo na on how we present naman our own films as an industry. I know that there was another service, wag na natin pag-usapan yon, pero nagulat ako doon sa promotional material nila. Lahat, di ba, nag-react ang mga producers eh. Kasi kahit ako, uy, pakisabi na mo, wag ganyan ng promotions.
Oo, hindi.
Kasi masyado na yan.
Nag-react ang DGPI doon. Nag-react ang...
Yes.
Sobra naman kasi.
Pero yun nga eh, parang as an industry, tayo mismo, ngayon kumakabig na sa sarili natin. Uy, atras ka muna dyan. Wag ganyan. And I think that's a good thing. So hopefully that is, the powers that be will recognize that we can self-regulate naman eh. And we are responsible naman as an industry.
At saka Georgia, sa amin, I don't think it's going to be a problem. More so, it's more of a challenge. Okay, it's more of a challenge to give a greater meaning and context to mature subject matters. Pero actually, Percy, hindi ba ang saya na nga dahil nung kapanahunan na we are all dependent on SM cinemas, we cannot do this.
Yeah.
Kaya nga, nag-overdose na tayo ng rom-com, hindi ba? We are dying of cute. Hindi ba? Hindi ba?
No, at saka dangerous doon kasi it doesn't go away ha. Nagiging underground industry siya.
Yeah.
Which actually makes it more dangerous for the practitioners in that
True.
industry.
Yeah.
So ngayon nakita siya, at least everything is transparent, people can complain. Kasi nung time na akala natin wala siya, there are still these cinemas in Manila, yung mga standalone that were showing it. And iniisip ko, sino may alam kung paano ginawa yan? At sino itong mga artistang to? At ano nangyayari sa kanila habang ginagawa itong pelikula? So,
that's right, Percy. Saka with social media, di ba? I mean, ang bilis mong mag-call out ng mga filmmakers who are quote-unquote abusing you. So talagang kami rin mismo sa Viva, we're careful na, i-regulate natin, hindi po pwedeng may lalabas na hindi dapat makita.
Yes.
Diba? So conscious kami sa grading, sa lighting, itago ang dapat itago, diba? And also yung respect dun sa pag sinabi ng artista na hindi ko gagawin yan. Okay, walang pilitan. We'll work around kung anong kaya.
I think you work in a safe space. I think that's important. You always work in a safe space.
And before naman we do any of these films, talagang we really give an assurance to our performers that we are creating safe spaces for them. In the same manner that we also create a safe space for our audience na, hindi balahuraan yung ginagawa mo. Hindi ba? Hindi ba, Percy, nasa integridad na yan ng direktor. Okay, kung anong uri ng pelikula ang gusto niyang gawin within the context of the mature audience. Eto, may question pa tayo. From Jean Evangelista, what's the impact of the growing mature films to our society? Parami ang mga, anong impact nito? JP, ano sa tingin mo?
Well, Direk, well, number one, ako naman I'll be looking at it on the positive side lang na nagkakaroon tayo ng normalization about talking about sex. Yun naman isang maganda para sa akin. Hindi siya nagiging tabu. Hindi siya yung parang in hush whisper sa pag-uusapan ng mga issues about sex. Diba? So, and because of that, ang dami mga madadala talaga ng mga other issues pa dahil dito sa mature content ito. So, sa akin, let's use it as a vehicle, diba, to discuss more far-reaching concerns. Diba? Wag natin siyang gamitin lang na parang for personal pleasure lang. Sa akin yun naman nakita ko ng impact society. Pagka hindi na siya kasi tabu, mas marami pa tayong pwedeng pag-usapan kaysa yung quote-unquote sinful aspect.
Okay. Angelica, you have a question.
What would be the role po of these films in the current issues regarding gender and sex?
What is the role? But could you repeat the question again, please, Angelica? What is the role of these mature...
of these films in the current issues regarding gender and sex?
Okay. Ano raw ang role itong films na ito regarding with issues regarding gender and sex? Percy, would you like to answer that? Then Madonna.
A big role. Kasi, I mean, yun nga, from our experience at Game Boys, just making a story like that allowed more people to come out and explore their sexuality and come out to their families, or at least be more open about themselves, no? Nagkakaroon na ng awareness now that gender identity and sexual orientation are two different things. Kasi may mga artista na tayo who are bravely proclaiming that they are gay, they are lesbian, they're bisexual, na before could not happen. And in terms of sex, may artista tayo ngayon, 'di ba? Who taga network na nagsabi siya na she's pregnant. And for a change, nobody asked kung sino yung tatay.
Yeah, that's true, no?
I love it that nobody asked kung sino yung tatay. Yung parang, yes, finally, lumampas na tayo dun sa stage na yun. So I think ito yun eh. These movies, this content opens the audience na parang, okay, pwede yun. Pwedeng mag-friends kayo na isang bisexual na girl at isang gay na guy. Paano pag nagkaroon kayo ng love interest na pareho kayo? Which is yung story ng pa-Thirsty namin sa Viva Max, di ba? A story like that would not have happened before. Na parang, babae tsaka bakla mag-aagaw sa isang lalaki, di ba? Yung babae, sasabihin niya, bisexual siya. Ang daming complications, pero now kaya mo nang harapin yung kwentong gano'n.
Okay. All right. So in other words, mas lalawak yung utak mo sa mga posibilidad, okay, of the various specimens that constitute humanity. Okay. Madonna, ano sa tingin mo? Anong
Ako, I echo Percy's point. I think if done correctly, if done rightly, if a film is powerful enough to change yung mindset ng mga tao about your identity, it's not even just your gender identity, but your identity. I think that's very important. Kasi we like content. We're always on our phones. We're always on our laptops. We're always mobile and we're watching something. If that can actually turn your fear of these things into being progressive and open-minded, then why not, di ba? Kasi kailangan very visual na tayo ngayon eh. Hindi naman lahat ng tao may tiyagang magbasa ng milya-milya. So sana gamitin natin yung tool na yon sa pagpapaliwanag talaga kung ano ba ang ibig sabihin ng isang kasi nila ng isang tao, his or her identity. I think yun. If we can use that, then it's a very powerful mind setter for me.
Ay, nawala ang sound ni Madonna.
Ahad kung ano talaga.
Oo,
Diba?
yeah.
Yeah.
No, actually, ang very powerful ang pelikula whether pinapanood mo sa sinihan o pinapanood mo sa telepono. Okay? Sa pagre-reassemble ng utak mo. Okay?
Yeah.
Marami, it's so powerful. It is so powerful that it will have a great impact in the way you perceive people and judge people and life in general. Okay, one final question. Wow. Well, this is interesting. Final question. Would there be a possibility of mature movies dominating the cinemas just like it is dominating the streaming platforms? Sagutin ko na, hindi mangyayari yan. Hindi mangyayari yan, okay? Kasi pag pumasok ka sa sa cinemas, may MTRCB, okay? Wala yan, gutay-gutay yung gutay-gutay yung pelikula mo, okay? Baka yung ibang mga, di ba, JP, baka ibang ginagawa ni Roman Perez opening credits tapos closing credits ang matitira, okay? Magugutay-gutay eh. Pero again, just to push the idea further, there is nothing wrong with mature movies because it opens itself to possibilities. It's how it's treated. It's treated and what it wants to say. Now, if all it wants to say is just a lot of copulation, then you judge it for yourself whether if that should give you your satisfaction. But ito naman sa akin na coming from the lolo of rom-coms, you can say a lot more in mature movies than in rom-coms about life and even socio-political and economic context of society. Okay? Kasi you're dealing with a serious premise. Now, how you contextualize it will all depend on how you handle it, di ba? As a filmmaker and you guys as the future heirs apparent of Philippine cinema. Any more final question? Kung wala, magpapasalamat na tayo at ibibigay ko ang floor, okay, sa ating mga organizers kasi meron tayong picture taking at saka the handing of certificates later on. Okay? Any more questions? Siguro kasi malapit na 157 na, mag-exceed na tayo, no? Siguro gagawin na lang natin, mag-picture taking na lang tayo at ipapadala namin sa email ninyo ang inyong mga certificates of appreciation plus our tokens of gratitude to all of you. So again, Perci, Madonna, Tita Tina, okay? And I love your Korean movies in Viva Max, okay? I watched that in between High on Sex. Okay. And,
Thanks, Direk.
okay. And JP, okay, and JP, maraming salamat. Can we ask everybody to please open your cameras at magpi-picture taking lang tayo for the sake of documentation to the gods of the school? Please open your cameras. Okay, if you don't open your cameras, you will not be credited for attending this meeting. Okay. Who's gonna take the picture? Alec, ikaw na ba?
Yes po, Direk. Ako na lang po.
Okay. All right. Not a question, but I agree what you said just earlier. I think
Ako po, Direk. Ako na lang po.
sige. Andiyan ka ba, Chubby? Okay, ready. Sige. Ilang pages tayo? 5 pages. Okay. Page 1. Go. Click mo na, Chubby.
Medyo lagi lang po, Direk. Kasi sa mga panahon.
Sige. Basta kodaka mo na makaalis na tayo.
Open your camera in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, next. Chubby, buhay ka pa? Chubby.
Ako na lang po, Direk.
Sige. Bayan. Okay. Sige, ikaw na, Alec. Go.
3, 2, 1. Next page po. Smile. 3, 2, 1. Last page. 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
All right. Sa ating mga estudyante, meron pa tayong 2 Benilde Film Talks. Ang susunod nating Film Talks is, Diyos ko, maganda ito. What future awaits you? We have invited alumni of the film program who are now working, and as well as some people who will employ you, okay? And to tell you what are we looking for in terms of film graduates. Importante yan kasi kinabukasan nyo nakasalalay. And for our final film talk at the end of July, we have the Filipina as a filmmaker. Okay, we have invited 3 Filipinas talking about their journey as filmmakers. Okay? All right. Sino ba magsasalita para sa mga darating pang events? Alec? Okay.
Yes po, Direk. Nakaschedule po tayo 15 actually po for the Filipina directors and the 29 po for the career talk with our alumni. Okay, so ayun. Okay, with our alumni at saka yun sa July 15, Martina, Dwayne, Baltasar, Maritina, Escobar, and I'm trying to get, I hope she's here pa, JP, Olive Lamasan, okay, to talk about the Filipina as a filmmaker.
Hindi pa siya, Direk, is here.
Andito pa siya, wala pa siya sa US, ano? Hindi pa siya maana. Okay, to give us a view. Okay, tama-tama pa naman because a Filipina has been recognized as a national artist in film, si Marilu Diaz-Abaya. So that's about it. Okay. So to everybody, guys, Perci, Madonna, Tita Tina, okay, and JP. Okay, I will see you soon, JP. Okay. Maraming salamat. And remember, still showing in Viva Max Secrets. Okay? All right. Okay, sige. Maraming salamat, everybody.
Bye.
Okay, God bless and have a good day. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.